Hey everybody, welcome to Drive Thru Review 705. Today we're going to take a look at Renature. This is a Kramer Kiesling design. It's also being published in the United States, at least by Capstone Games. And what this is a 2 to 4 player sort of domino / Euro game. So players will have dominoes with little animal pictures on them, and they'll be playing them out onto this board with kind of like hedge mazes kind of thing going on, and then trying to get area control and score different points and all that kind of stuff. So let's jump down to the table. I'll explain how it works, and I'll come back to tell you what I think. So Renature is a gorgeously illustrated game about kind of restoring and renaturing a polluted valley and sort of bringing life back to this area. And here you can see the main board. This has been seeded with various scoring tokens and special bonus tokens. And in these green spaces, you can see with sort of a brook running through it, these are areas where players will be placing their dominoes. Now each player will be dealt a certain number of dominoes based on the player count, and they'll always have 3 that they'll keep hidden from everybody else. And as they play dominoes, they will draw new ones into their hand. And they also will have a player board, which has various different sort of plants and things that they will play out onto the board to score points. So your turn is very simple. You're going to simply play one of the dominoes from your hand or discard it if you have nowhere to play it, and then possibly place out one of your plant markers to score some points, and then you'll draw a new domino into your hand. Now dominoes can go in a couple of spots. To start the game, there's one of 4 starting spaces that you can place a domino. So you can play in any of those spots, or you can play adjacent to a matching animal picture. So in this kind of example set up here, you can see this domino is already on the board. There's a butterfly on one side and a bird on the other side. And you can play next to this with a matching bird symbol. So you can sort of grow this little web or pattern of animals all over the board. Now it's worth noting that at any point in the game, a different animal will be considered a wild. So at the beginning here, you can see you'll mark the butterfly as a wild. So any other animal can be placed next to a butterfly. Now the other step on your turn, in addition to playing the domino, is if you want, you can place one of your plant tokens in a space adjacent to your domino. So maybe the next player would come along and they would place this domino here, and then they could place one of their colored plant tokens. Now each of these tokens, if we take a look at our player boards here, have kind of a different value. So these small little hedges you can see on the lower left there, those are basically size 1, whereas the little bushes to the right there, those are size 2. And then we also have 2 others. We have these sort of medium-sized trees here, those are size 3, and a little bit larger trees on the right, those are size 4, but we have less of the larger pieces. So what happens when you play these out is you'll take a look at the piece you played, you'll score 1 point for that plant piece, and then you'll score 1 point for each other plant in that same area that's the same size or smaller. So as players are kind of going in there, certain areas which are bigger, might fill up, and you can place, certain pieces in there to try to score more and more points. But you don't have a lot of the big ones, so you got to try to save those for key moments. Now, in addition to scoring those points when you actually play, once you surround an area with dominoes, then those plants are going to contribute to an overall area control, and then you're going to score the area once you close it off as a whole. So if we look at this little example here back in the same area, you can see this has been closed off, and inside this area you have basically 3 pieces from 3 different colors. You have 2 sort of the size 2 bushes, the blue and the black there, and then you have 1 size 1 from the orange player. And this is really, it's so simple, but it's probably the most interesting part of the game. Is so when you look at the area majority, you're going to total up kind of the overall size of the total plants in there. So maybe in a bigger area, you might have a couple of pieces. You'll add those together, and it'll say that's kind of your overall force, so you're contributing power to controlling that area. But if there is a tie for first, then those players are sort of canceled out, and then the next highest will then win the token or win the area. And then you just keep going down. If nobody is there, then nobody will actually win that. But the player that actually completed the area surrounded it will take the token. So let's look at the token in general. So in our example, the blue and black player are tied at level 2, and the orange player was able to sneak in there with the level 1 and then take it. So normally the first place player, the player with the most strength, would get the top points, 3, and the second most would get 1. But if only one player ends up being able to score, they will get the total combined points, 3 and 1, so they would get 4. Now, whoever actually closed off and finished it will flip this over. They'll keep this hidden, but this will be worth 1 point at the end of the game for being the one to close off the area. Now, if you looked at our previous example, there were some colors in there, but one of the colors is beige, and each of the players has some of those beige tokens. They don't really belong to anybody. So, but they can still be used to cancel out sort of one of the other players. So you can use them as sort of an attack kind of thing. It won't score you any points because once you played it, it doesn't really belong to you. So that whole dynamic there of sort of the size that you play, whether you play it to score points immediately in the game in the round, or once you close the area off, that whole balancing act is just a really interesting puzzle to piece out. Now, the other step that you can do on your turn is you can actually spend some of these cloud tokens. Now, you start with a full complement of 6 of these, and you can see they're each worth 1 point at the end of the game if you hold on to them. So you're giving up points when you use these. But you can spend them to do a variety of different things. You can spend 3 of them to take a whole new complete turn, so you can just do another turn. The other thing you can do is spend 2 of them, and then you can change what is the wild animal, and you just pick whichever one you want and you move it to that spot on the board, and then that animal will become the wild until somebody else moves it. And the last thing you can do is you can spend cloud tokens to pull pieces back off the board. So you can pull tokens in your color or if they're beige. And the cost to do that is 1 cloud basically per size. So these little ones here will cost you 1 cloud, and then 2 and 3 and 4 clouds for the bigger pieces. And that's really just the gist of the game. You're going to keep playing until everybody runs out of dominoes, everybody's dealt an equal amount to start the game, and you just keep playing, and then you'll score that up. Now, you will get negative points for any of the pieces that are on your board equal to their size. So if you have some hedges left over, that would be worth -1 point. And you'll score some areas that haven't fully closed off. You'll score those as if they had been closed off, and you get the points for the clouds. So let's go through my pillars of review. So I've only played as 2 and 3 player. Haven't had a chance to play at 4 player. The 2 player works a little bit differently because you get a little bit extra tokens. There's extra black and white pieces, and then you take your player boards and flip them over, and you have just like more stuff that you can use. But you just play the same basic game. You get dealt a different amount of dominoes and things, but it plays out basically the same. I will say that I like it. It's okay 2 player. It's all right, but it's the way that they do it, I think works well. But I think you really want the 3, and I would think even the 4 player. 3, I have a suspicion. I haven't played it before. I have a suspicion 3 might be the sweet spot for this game because there's a lot of piggybacking, but maybe it would get a little bit chaotic with 4, but I don't know. I can't really say that for sure. Maybe not, because there is like different areas that you kind of grow out of, and that's the thing. This is the thing I really like about the game, is sort of the organic growth. It really reminds me of a Knizia game, like a Tigris and Euphrates, or Yellow and Yangtze, and that kind of thing, where you get these kind of very interesting sort of conflicts that are in play across different sides of the board, because there's different areas that are different sizes, worth more points. You can even place next to cloud pieces and sort of collect those and put those back, so that gives you some more actions and things that you can do to activate different things. So the organic nature of it is just more interesting with more people, because certain people are going to be like, I'm going to go here and go get this area. I'm going to try to do this myself, and then you get in their way, and then other stuff's happening over here. Whereas even with 2 player, it's still kind of a tug, push and pull. In terms of play time, it takes about 45 minutes maybe. It plays pretty quick. Once everybody kind of knows how to play, it's pretty snappy and intuitive to play. And it's so simple. I mean, the back of the rule book has like basically the whole rules for the game on the one sheet, really. It's a very small rule book. But yeah, it's about 45 minutes. Like I said, I haven't played before. It would maybe be an hour. What does the box say here? Let me just see what the box says to us. It says 45-60. Yeah, I mean, I think that's what you're looking at. But in terms of the other games that it's like, I've heard this compared to Mexica. I kind of see that. I kind of don't, because you have sort of the canals or whatever in Mexico that you're putting out there. It's a different game though. This is very much like dominoes, because you can get hand and like not be able to do anything, and you got to discard and draw. But you could spend clouds. You might get a thing and take your turn or do something like that, or be able to spend the clouds to shift the wild and that kind of stuff. So it gives you some kind of outs there. But maybe this is the other interesting thing that's happened is you might just say, I don't want to play this because I don't want to play on top of that. So why might I just kind of pass off, because I got these other 2 that I know I can use, but I want to kind of see and wait for things to unfold. So there is a little bit of that, which is very, very interesting. But I'd not really seen dominoes in like a Euro or anything. And this is really cool because my family, for as long as I can remember, we played a lot of cards growing up and played dominoes as well. And so this is neat to have a dominoes game that's a different kind of take on that whole thing. And just playing those big, chunky, thick, really cool illustrated dominoes is a neat thing. And this one has some of those sort of intangibles that a lot of these Kramer Kiesling, Reiner Knizia style games have, the kind of old school German style Euros, were very simple, elegant, dead simple rules, but there's a lot of cool, interesting tactics and things that happen on the board with all the different spatial elements. So it's really, really cool. Like, I really recommend this just about everybody, because I think this is a good like gateway style game sort of thing. But there's got some good replayability and some interesting strategies and tactics and things like that you can kind of go after. But it's just that nice, easy breezy, accessible, fun game. But it doesn't disappoint. It doesn't fall on its face once you play it a couple of times. So I definitely would recommend Renature, and it's a pleasure to look at the production and the art and everything as well. But anyway, I definitely recommend this. Folks, take a look at it. I think across the board, all styles of gamers or whatever are going to have a good time with this. So that's it. Thanks.